Food is never just fuel, it is a ghost that walks beside us through time. To understand the history of flatbread is to look into a mirror that reflects both the greatest triumphs of human ingenuity and the deepest, darkest depths of our survival. Turn back the clock, clear the ash from the hearth, and witness how a simple mixture of dust and water shaped the destiny of the world. Imagine a world before cities. Imagine a world before kings, before money, and before the wheel. It is a bitter winter afternoon in the black desert of northeastern Jordan. The year is roughly 12,000 BCE. A small clan of hunter-gatherers huddled inside structures of stone and brushwood. They are hungry. The great herds of gazelle are sparse this season, and the bitter wind cuts through their animal skins. A woman kneels by a fire pit, her fingers stained with the dust of the earth. For days, she and her family have gathered the tiny, stubborn seeds of wild einkorn wheat and barley. They didn't plant these grains. The earth offered them wildly, sparsely, along the marsh edges. Using a heavy, smooth volcanic stone, she grinds the wild seeds against a flat rock slab. Crush, grind, repeat. It is backbreaking work just to yield a handful of coarse flour. She mixes the flour with a splash of water from a leather pouch. Her fingers work the paste until it forms a sticky, shaggy ball. She doesn't have a pan. She doesn't have an oven. She only has the fire. Carefully, she scrapes away the glowing embers of the hearth, exposing a flat, basalt stone heated to a blistering temperature by the flames. She flattens the dough between her palms into a rough, uneven disc. With a quick, practiced motion, she slaps the dough directly onto the scorching hot rock. The dough hisses. Steam rises, carrying a completely new scent into the cold night air, a warm, toasted, comforting aroma that these humans have never smelled before. Within minutes, the edges char, blisters form, and she flips it over with a sharpened stick. When she pulls it from the stone, she tears it apart. It is flat, dense, and slightly smoky. She shares it with her family. They do not know it yet, but this simple act, making the world's very first flatbread, will change the trajectory of human history forever. They made this bread 4,000 years before anyone ever thought to plant a farm. Fast forward 9,000 years. The scene shifts southwest, to the banks of the roaring Nile River in ancient Egypt. The nomadic camps are gone. In their place stand towering stone monuments, bustling marketplaces, and thousands of mud brick homes. The wild grains of the desert have been tamed, fields of emmer wheat stretch as far as the eye can see. Here, flatbread is no longer just a survival meal, it is the absolute heartbeat of society. It is so valuable that it is used as currency. Builders working on the Great Pyramids of Giza are not paid in gold. They are paid in daily rations of flatbread and beer. In a bustling courtyard bakery in Memphis, a baker prepares the daily batch. The process is now an art form. The Egyptians have discovered that by heating heavy, conical clay pots directly in the fire, they can slap the flat dough onto the inside walls of the inverted clay structures. The intense, trapped heat cooks the bread in seconds, making it pliable and perfect for scooping up lentil stews and roasted meats. But one morning, a distracted baker leaves a bowl of dough sitting out in the warm, humid Egyptian sun for too long. Microscopic, invisible wild yeast spores floating through the airland in the bowl. The dough begins to ferment, bubbling and rising. Instead of throwing it away, the baker pushes the bubbling dough into the clay oven anyway. To his astonishment, the flatbread puffs up. It separates in the middle, creating a hollow, airy pocket. The baker takes a bite. It is soft, pillowy, and easy to tear. By accident, the flatbread has evolved into what the world will one day call the pita. As centuries pass, the secret of the flatbread spreads along trade routes like wildfire. Every culture encounters the same basic truth: if you have grain and you have fire, you can survive. But each culture infuses the bread with its own soul, Travel east across the rugged mountains of Central Asia. Here, nomadic horsemen carry portable, dome-shaped clay ovens called tandoors. They slap large, teardrop-shaped dough onto the blazing inner walls of the tandoor. It bubbles intensely, brushed with ghee or wild garlic. This is naan, the ultimate traveling companion, designed to be torn by hand and shared among travelers along the Silk Road. Down in the valleys of India, simpler everyday flatbreads like chapati and roti are rolled thin and cooked on flat iron griddles called tawas, inflating like small balloons over open flames. Meanwhile, cross the vast Atlantic Ocean to the highlands of Mesoamerica. The people here have never seen wheat or barley. Instead, they worship a golden grain, corn. In a Mayan village, a woman soaks hard corn kernels in water mixed with wood ash, an ancient process called nixtamalization that softens the grain and unlocks its nutrients. She grinds the softened corn into a smooth dough called masa. With rhythmic, musical claps of her hands, she shapes the dough into perfect, thin circles and bakes them on a hot clay comal. The result is the tortilla, a flatbread so versatile it serves as both the food and the spoon. Further south in Africa, along the highlands of Ethiopia, communities discover teff, a grain as tiny as a speck of dust. They ferment it into a bubbly batter for days, pouring it onto a massive clay plate to create injera, a spongy, sour, giant flatbread that acts as a living tablecloth, holding mounds of spicy stews for an entire family to eat from together. Whether it was a Roman soldier baking focaccia on his iron shield over a campfire, or a baker in Naples putting tomatoes and cheese on a flat disk of dough to create the very first pizza, flatbread has remained our constant companion. It is the bread of refugees and the bread of emperors. It requires no fancy machinery, no complex chemistry, just the elements of earth, water, and fire. Today, when you rip a piece of warm pita, wrap a taco, or pull a piece of garlic naan apart, you are not just eating lunch. You are participating in a ritual that is 14,000 years old. You are sitting at the exact same fire as that lonely woman in the Jordanian desert, sharing the very first piece of bread that built human civilization.